D&D number 3, Finding Home in Jesus' Name, Chapter 17. Chaz pulled the black Ford Expedition up to the house. The front door, then Lisa walked out onto the porch, tugging at the bodice of her yellow sundress. She straightened and pointed at herself and mouthed the words, "Do I look okay?" He nodded emphatically and gave a thumbs up. She held one finger up and ran back inside. A few moments later, Jody and John appeared and headed toward the car. They piled into the back seat. "Where did Lisa go?" Chaz asked. "She's on her third outfit," Jody answered, shaking her head. "Why?" "I told her it was casual, a swim party. By the way, did you bring your suits?" "Got 'em right here," John said, patting the canvas bag he carried for Jody. Lisa appeared on the porch again, pointing to the outfit she wore: white slacks with a red tailored blouse and red sandals. He gave another thumbs up, but she frowned and disappeared again. Chaz adjusted the AC in the car and got out. "I'll be right back." "What's the big deal?" John asked Jody. "Think about it," Jody answered. "Her boyfriend's parents, possible future in-laws. She's nervous." John knew better than to argue. Inside, Chaz knew the same thing. He took her in his arms. "Sweetheart, you look wonderful. Please don't worry so much." She sighed. "They're going to be watching me, wanting to see just what kind of woman their son is dating." "They've met you before." "Briefly, and then it wasn't for certain that you and me were, a couple. And now it is for certain." She turned to him. "It is, right?" He let her go. "Well, now you're just being silly." She ignored him and pulled her hair back. "Maybe I should wear my hair up." "Lisa." She put her hands to her face. "I don't know where my confidence has gone." "I do." "Well, fill me in then," she said, staring blankly into the mirror. He moved behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and resting his chin on her shoulder. "This is all stemming from that dream last night. You never had the approval of your own mother, and now you're desperate for that approval. And you don't have to worry, baby. My mother is so grateful to you for pulling me out of my funk that she'll worship you." She sighed. But look at all the trouble I've brought with me." He frowned. "You are not responsible for someone else's actions." Sighing heavily, she looked back at the mirror. "Do you like this outfit?" "Sure." "Sure? What does that mean?" "I mean, it's just fine, hun." "Just fine? Oh, I can't wear something that's just fine. What's wrong with it?" Chaz knew he'd messed up and wasn't sure what to say next. Nothing really." "Nothing really? Well, that sounds like something to me." He swallowed hard. "Lisa, you look great. It's just so." "So what?" "So businesslike." She looked herself over. "But it's nice and modest, right?" "It doesn't matter how modest it is, Lisa. You're going to be in a bathing suit after dinner anyway." "Maybe not." "All right, enough is enough." "Lisa, stop it. Wear what you want and bring your bathing suit. We'll be waiting in the car. You want to make a bad impression? Try being late to my mother's dinner party." 5 minutes later, Lisa climbed into the passenger side of the SUV. She wore the original yellow sundress and had her hair pulled back in a clip at the base of her neck. "Sorry, everyone. I had a meltdown." "Don't you worry about it, sweetie," Jody said. "It happens." The four of them arrived at the Stewarts just a few minutes past the appointed time. "What time did Grams come over?" Lisa asked. "Mom came to pick her up about 4. She wanted to spend some time with her and talk her into a little checkup." "Oh, that's good. Your mom is a very nice lady." "Yeah, she is." They walked into a quiet, dark house. "That's strange," Chaz said in a loud voice. He led them to a room just off the front foyer, ushered Lisa inside the room, leaned in and flicked the light switch. "Surprise!" Lisa gasped. "What?" The sign hanging overhead read, "Welcome home, Lisa." She turned to Chaz. "You knew?" He smiled. "Of course." She looked back over her shoulder to John and Jody, who were smiling. "You too?" Jody shrugged. "Sorry, I was sworn to secrecy." Patricia Stewart came forward, her arms outstretched, her smile kind. "Lisa, please don't be angry with us. I just had to do something to welcome our long-lost little neighbor back into the fold." She took Lisa's hands in hers. "If you only knew how often Miss Maddie spoke of you. It seems we've all known you forever." We truly are happy you've come back to stay right here in our little town of Pine Forest. Thank you, Mrs. Stewart, Lisa said. She looked around, realizing her father was present, and Shirley and Megan, and Graham stood by a table laden with food, a smile on her face, a tear in her eye, and Chaz's sisters stood nearby, chatting with each other, and Tyson and his father held up a drink in her honor. Chaz's friends were here too. Troy waved at her. He had a beautiful girl on his arm. Evan and Josh nodded at her. They all began coming forward then to hug Lisa and to meet John and Jody. Once the initial shock was over and everyone had downed a drink or two, they all sat down to a delicious dinner of salad, roast beef, and new potatoes, along with a myriad of other dishes. It was obvious that Maddie had a hand in the cooking as she directed the placement of food on a buffet. Dinner conversation was easy and laughter abounded. No one saw fit to bring up the unpleasant by mentioning the attacks on Lisa or by asking questions about Louise Lewis. No one mentioned Chaz's former life. They asked a lot of questions about the inn and about the roles the Stewart Ranch would play. Lisa was on her best behavior, making sure she didn't accidentally let her language slip, taking small bites, using her napkin, laughing at all the right places. It was tedious work. She didn't know what else to do. She'd had to perform for her mother. She continued to perform now. She began to wonder if she was a real person at all. Did she always do everything in her life to gain some kind of approval? Would she continue to do that for the rest of her life? She looked around the table. She truly cared about everyone here. Her wonderful father, who hadn't given up trying to find her. Her stepmother, who accepted her completely as a long-lost daughter. Megan, whose large heart took her in immediately as a big sister. Chaz's friends, who'd been nothing but accepting of her, and Chaz's family, who acted as if the sun rose and set just for her. Lisa, Cindy began, interrupting Lisa's soul-searching. I don't think you've met my little sister yet. This is Stephanie, she said, knocking her little sister in the shoulder. We call her Steffi, and you can call her anything you want. Lisa laughed. Hi, Steffi, she said. You're the one that's still in school? Steffi nodded. I'll be a senior this August. Thank goodness. Know where you're going to college? Probably going to join the ranks up at Georgia. Not completely sure yet. It's a hard decision, Lisa agreed. So, Cindy butted in, we all want to take Jody shopping next week. You know, show her around, help her find her way out here in the boonies. You want to come? We all? Yeah, me, Steph, Megan, you, and Jody. That sounds like a blast. I'd love to come. I haven't seen much of Megan since I've been here, and I'd like a chance to spend the day with my new sis. Megan's been indisposed, Cindy said with a grin toward the frowning girl. Lisa looked toward Megan, a question on her face. I've been seeing a guy. Did you bring him? No, we broke up a few days ago. Oh, I'm sorry, Megan. I know how hard these things can be. It wasn't soon enough for me, Joe added, earning an elbow in the ribs from Shirley. Daddy, Megan whined. Sorry, sweetheart, that was insensitive of me. Charles Sr. laughed out loud at that. You don't sound very sorry to me, Joe. That's because I'm not, Joe laughed. Lisa smiled outwardly while secretly feeling the alienation bestowed on her by her mother. She'd never had a father to approve or disapprove of a boyfriend. She intended to let Megan know just how lucky she was. They adjourned to the pool and patio where dessert and drinks would be served. Cindy and Steffi were the first to change into their bathing suits, and they were also the first to be thrown into the water. Jody and John were right behind, along with Megan and Tyson. Soon, only Lisa and Chaz sat with Maddie, the Stewarts, and Joe and Shirley. It was a wonderful meal, Lisa said. Thank you, Patricia Stewart answered. Maddie had a lot to do with that. She's a gem. Yes, she is. I'm so happy I've been able to come home and get to know her. And I'm happy you came, Maddie assured her. I can't remember what I used to do with my time before you came home. Well, she certainly seems to be a sweet child, Maddie, Patricia said. And to come up with all the wonderful ideas for the inn, I am just so impressed. Lisa rose. I think I'll go put on my suit and take a swim. Chaz stood. Mom, Miss Maddie, great food. Thanks. He took Lisa's hand and escorted her into the house. They make a lovely couple, don't they? Patricia asked softly. They do, but don't pressure them, sugar, Charles said. Patricia smiled. I wouldn't dare. Chaz and Lisa emerged a few minutes later. Lisa wore a wraparound skirt over her lime green bikini. She'd taken her hair down from the clip, and it fell loosely over her shoulders to just inches above her waist. In the exotic outfit, she was breathtaking, and when she removed the skirt, every male present was affected in some way. Lisa dove into the water and swam gracefully across the pool. It wasn't long before a rough game of chicken broke out, and it was only a short time after that Cindy, sitting on Josh's shoulders, found Lisa's hair was her weakness. It proved to be the perfect tool to unseat her from Chaz's shoulders. The others, capitalizing on Jody being shy as a newcomer, made sure she and John were next to go. Defeated, Jody and John sat on the edge of the pool. Chaz and Lisa took chairs near the edge to cheer on their competition. Get Cindy, Lisa yelled at Megan. Megan reached for Cindy from atop Tyson's shoulders. Steffi, riding Evan, teamed up with Megan against her sister, and Troy's date tried to blindside Megan while she had her attention on Cindy, and Chaz wasn't sure when his perspective began to change. He supposed it was the moment Cindy and Josh went under. Her head smacked the side of the pool, and he'd come up out of his chair. He remembered that much. And the blood. He remembered the blood. That was the last thing he remembered before he became aware of his current surroundings. He was in a poolside lounge chair. The pool was empty. Lisa was behind him, her hands resting on his shoulders. Beside him, John sat in a chair, his hands on his knees. His voice was clear and strong as he spoke. Speak to me, Chaz. Come on, buddy. Everyone is safe. Chaz blinked hard as his head cleared. Where's Cindy? Is she okay? Abruptly, he tried to stand, but John held him in place. Cindy's fine. Your mom's taking care of her, John said, looking him over as he spoke. How about you? You feeling all right? Chaz shook his head. I'm dizzy. My head is pounding. He looked up at Lisa. What happened? Cindy got hurt, and you went in after her, and we couldn't get you to let her go, and you kept calling her Julie. And once Tyson got you to put her down, you were like in a daze, and your dad and John got you out of the pool and over to this chair, and John asked everyone to give him a chance to speak to you. And they agreed? Well, John said with a grin, I was pretty convincing. I gave them my credentials, which are... I'm a member of the National Alliance for Emotional Health, a Meridian Energy Therapist, a Reiki Master, and a Master EFT practitioner. I've got thousands of hours under my belt working with war veterans for post-traumatic stress disorder, and I told them I could help you. Oh, dear Jesus, Chaz buried his face in his hands. I went out in front of everyone. Chaz, I'm sure everyone that's here knows what happened and knows you've had a difficult time coping. Yeah, well, I just had to go and demonstrate it, didn't I? What everyone else thinks isn't the issue right now, John said sternly. Well, tell me, what is the issue, Doc? Chaz said sarcastically. And what is EEG, whatever you said? EFT practitioner. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. You see, there have been discoveries regarding the body's energy system, and those discoveries have proven successful in thousands of clinical cases. EFT can be applied to just about every emotional and health issue you can name, and it often works where nothing else will. Sounds like a bunch of hocus pocus. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? But it's not. I can get you the reports. EFT has provided thousands of people with relief from pain, diseases, and emotional issues. It's like an emotional version of acupuncture, except needles aren't necessary. Instead, you stimulate well-established energy meridian points on your body by tapping on them with your fingertips. The process is easy and is based on the belief that the cause of all negative emotions is a disruption in the body's energy system. And my mother let you near me? She's actually heard of it. She was the one who told your dad that there is a group of about 18 medical doctors on the advisory board and that there's actually quite a bit of EFT work being done in VA hospitals to help vets with post-traumatic stress disorders. She said she'd actually been looking into it as a means to help you, and that she'd take it as a good sign that an EFT practitioner happened to come into your life. My mom said that? It appears she's very open-minded and willing to do anything to help you. So this EFT stuff is what you meant when you said you could help me? It helped me, and I've personally seen it help hundreds of others and read case studies on thousands more. I'm pretty sure I can help you if you'll let me. He glanced up at Lisa, then back to John. I want a normal life. I'll go along with anything at this point, so what do I have to do? John smiled. It's sort of like acupressure. It involves tapping on certain energy points on your body, like the top of your head, above your eyebrow. I'll show you all of them. When? Well, as Master Kino always said, now's always a good time. Why did I know you were going to say that? Chaz said with a smile. John looked up at Lisa. I'll make myself scarce, she volunteered, leaning down to plant a kiss on Chaz's lips. We won't be long, John assured her. He began explaining to Chaz the energy points on the body and the simple yet effective procedure. New scene. Lisa snuggled up close to Chaz. I'm amazed at the way you make me feel. And how is that? It's too hard to put into words. Well, let's try. One word. Just give me one word. Beautiful. You make me feel beautiful. Well, you are beautiful, and I have nothing to do with it. Try again. But I never felt beautiful. Not really. Not until you. Try again, he insisted. Okay, how about important? That's a better one. You make me feel like I'm somebody who's important, someone who counts, and smart. You actually listen to me when I speak, as if what I have to say may be of worth, and accepted, and wanted, and safe, and loved. She turned to him and softly kissed his lower lip. When you tell me you love me, I'm almost in awe. You love me. Lisa, he sighed, I do love you. Everything about you. I'm not sure how it could happen so quickly. I just know that I can't stop thinking about you and I can't stop wanting you, but I'm also afraid. Afraid? Afraid of loving someone and losing them. You won't lose me. There are no guarantees, Lisa. That's a lesson I've learned well. What are you trying to tell me? Nothing, only that I love you. And I've spent enough time living in the past, and I'm not a coward, at least I don't think I am. I'm brave enough to see what I want and to go for it. And you, babe, are what I want. Every last red-headed, green-eyed, dirty-worded, sweet, vulnerable part of you. She rubbed her nose against his. Do you feel better? I mean, since you and John had that little session? He gave a slight smile. I think I do, actually. John and I will work together for a few more times. I can work on it alone, too. I feel what? I guess I feel more in control. Well, I'm glad he's been able to help. It's almost like it was meant to be, him coming here and just happened to have the skills to help. Yeah, it's like our prayers are being answered, like God is showing up just how real he is. I don't think it was a coincidence that you got involved with a bunch of my killer cows, or that loving you started my healing, or that you brought your assistant here to live, an assistant you only knew for 3 days, or that her husband is a PTSD specialist. God is amazing. You coming here was meant to be, Lisa. New scene. Lisa, Jody, and John waved at Chaz as he pranced by on BB. Chaz pulled back on the reins, and BB reared up, pawing at the air in magnificent splendor. Lisa laughed and clapped her hands in delight. Tyson and his dad waved as they brought up the rear of the small group of the Pine County Horsemen's Association. Are you having fun? Lisa asked Jody. Jody looked up from the lens of her camera. A blast. I know we all live in the same country, but small town America is so much different from California. Different, Lisa agreed, but great. The people I've met, the love in their hearts, the feeling of unity and family, and a place where they belong, it's wonderful. I agree, John said, and it's what we fought for. It's what we kept in our minds when I was in Iraq and Afghanistan. Home. The next high school band started up, drums pounding, trombonists swinging as they played their fight song, and Lisa and Jody clapped to the rhythm. The parade was not the elaborate doings that they'd seen in California, but for some reason it was much more enjoyable. The city of Macon, Georgia, was very small compared to Atlanta and tiny compared to Los Angeles, and the parade was shorter than a big city parade. It ended much too soon for Lisa's liking, but she looked forward to the rest of the day, which would take place in Pine Forest. By 11, the entire town of Pine Forest was turned into a giant fairground. Amusement rides filled the grocery store parking lot. Every business in town had a booth out in the municipal complex. Joe's had tables adorned with U.S. flag centerpieces set up outside and along the walk. There were huge barbecue grills, all claiming to have the world's best. Rows of stands lined with red, white, and blue bunting held every July 4th delicacy one could think of, from watermelon to cotton candy, homemade ice cream being scooped straight from the churns, hot dogs, hamburgers, beer, soda, pies, cakes, fried chicken, potato salad. Craft booths were enough to stock 'em all. T-shirts for sale, funny hats, bumper stickers, puppies, you name it. Live bands played music from a grandstand in the center of the complex, and flags lined the street. A tricycle race had parents yelling and screaming as their toddlers tried to beat each other to the finish line. Next would be a three-legged race, then sack races, potato races, tug of war. Chaz and John tried to show off throwing baseballs to knock milk bottles down, but were beat out by one of the local high school kids. There's so many people here, Jody said. I wouldn't have thought there were so many in this town. There's not. We attract people from all over the Middle Georgia area. We're sort of famous for our Independence Day celebrations, Chaz answered. John nodded. I can understand why. This is truly awesome. I'm loving it. Oh, look, Lisa, Jody cried as they came upon a booth brimming with delightfully ornate women's hats and bonnets. After 15 minutes at the hat booth, Chaz rolled his eyes. Why don't John and I go get a beer at Joe's while you try on hats? Okay, Lisa said, picking up a hat covered with parrots and placing it on her head. Grams is over there helping out with the food. Tell her I'll be there shortly. You got it. John kissed Jody, giving her tummy a pat before he sauntered away. Not wanting to be outdone, Chaz took Lisa in his arms and laid one on, leaving her swaying in a daze. Jody giggled as the men took their leave. Chaz and John were on their second beer when a kid no older than 10 approached. You John? The kid asked. John smiled at him. Yep. And who are you? The kid didn't bother to answer. That Chinese lady sent me to get you. She's not feeling good. Said for you to come down to the school. Chinese lady? You mean Jody? The boy nodded. I guess so. The school? Chaz asked. What are they doing down there? Look, mister, I don't know. They said something about needing shade. The kid took off as John stood. Where's the school? Elementary school is down at the end of the street. I don't understand why she wouldn't just stay where she was and send for me. I knew I should have argued when they said they wanted to leave their purses in the trunk of the car so they wouldn't have to lug them around. I don't like Jody not having her cell phone with her. I don't know why she didn't want to keep it on her. I'm sure she's fine. Maybe they got far enough down the street while they were shopping and decided the school was a good place to rest in the shade. There's a huge oak tree beside the school that every kid who's ever lived here has climbed on. Come on. They hurried down the street toward the school, but when they arrived, there was no one in sight. Chaz circled under the giant oak, hands on hips, trying to figure out what Lisa and Jody had been thinking. John looked up quickly as they heard voices coming from behind the school. Back there, John said. When the two men rounded the corner of the building, they were surprised to find not Jody and Lisa, but 4 men who looked like poster boys for a typical bad boy motorcycle gang. Chaz's mouth pressed into a thin line. He looked back at John, who only nodded at him. 4 more men stepped out behind John. John would have known even if he hadn't seen Chaz's eyes widen. Chaz mumbled a curse. You ain't kidding. The words were spoken by a guy with a black bandana covering his head. Chaz put on his friendliest smile. You guys seen a couple of ladies hanging around? Nope, just the 2 of you, the same guy answered as his buddy snickered. Chaz frowned, facing the obvious. It was no accident they'd arrived here to find a gang of bikers. I guess there's no way of talking our way out of this, huh, fellas? Guess not, the leader answered. How much they pay you? Chaz asked. It ain't the money, man, the guy next to the leader answered sarcastically. It's the pleasure of kicking some rich guy's butt. Rich? You got me mixed up with someone else. Nope, I'm pretty sure you're the one, the guy answered, causing the others to laugh. Chaz eyed the man, big, ugly, tattooed. It would take a lot to bring him down, and John would be his only hope there. Actually, John would be his only hope at all. He'd been awfully quiet, and Chaz glanced back at him. John's eyes were narrowed, his expression unreadable, his body deceptively relaxed. So, what do you think, John? Chaz asked. John's voice was soft and deadly. I'm thinking, I hope I don't have to kill somebody today, it being a national holiday and all. Chaz cursed again, knowing the comment would bring on the inevitable. He turned back just in time to dodge the fist coming toward his nose. New scene. That's funny, Jody said to Lisa. That kid did say down at the corner by the Texaco station, didn't he? Lisa nodded. It'd be kind of hard to mistake Texaco station for anything else. And this is the only one in town, right? I think so, Lisa said, wishing she had her cell phone. Let me go ask again. She went inside the convenience store and approached the clerk. Are you positive that Chaz Stewart and another guy that looks a lot like him didn't come in here? The older woman smiled. I'm absolutely positive, honey. I'm the only one on duty until 3 when my husband is going to relieve me so that I can go have some fun too. And I wouldn't miss someone as cute as Chaz. Lisa smiled. No, neither would I. So he said he'd meet you here? Yes, I was told he had a surprise for us, for my friend and I. Lisa added, motioning outside toward Jody. Well, maybe he was detained. Maybe. Well, thanks anyway. Lisa had just joined Jody outside when she heard Chaz call her name. The voice came from around the back of the building. Well, I wonder what they're got going on, Lisa said with a laugh as she and Jody walked over rocks and around bushes to get to the back of the gas station. She was still wondering when the steely hand slapped over her mouth. She fought, but still, within seconds, the man had her gagged and tied to the closest pine tree. She could hear Jody start to scream and then a muffled cry. Oh, please don't hurt Jody. Oh, God, please protect her baby. Tears stung Lisa's eyes as she tried to focus on what was happening. A man held Jody from behind. Lisa couldn't make out anything about him except he was thin and black. Blood poured from a cut on Jody's lip. However, she appeared to be smiling, Lisa thought, her brow furrowing. Jody faced another man. Lisa didn't know this one either. He was white, with short dark hair and a small goatee. Come and get me if you think you're man enough, Jody said. Lisa held her breath as the man sauntered forward, reached up to grab Jody's shirt, and ripped it open with one violent jerk. And that is the end of chapter 17.